The movie kicks off with Carter Ford in an underground boxing ring, absolutely dominating the scene like a total boss. Outside, a suspicious guy lazily lounges in a car, watching everything unfold. Carter keeps winning, fight after fight, looking unstoppable. This is pure survival of the fittest. But then, plot twist, the mysterious guy steps into the ring. The moment he pulls back his hood, you can almost see Carter's confidence evaporate, replaced by a sudden feeling of fear and unease.
Nope, I'm not fighting that fucking guy.
This guy turns out to be the legendary UFC fighter Elwood Dalton. A few years back, during a match, tragedy strikes. Dalton, completely losing control of his emotions, accidentally delivered a fatal blow that takes his friend's life. The devastating incident shatters him to his core. Unable to forgive himself, Dalton retired from professional fighting. From that moment on, his life spirals into a dark void. He's nothing but an empty shell, merely existing rather than living. When hunger strikes, he drags himself to underground fighting rings, earning just enough to survive. Carter gets upset, but he is smart enough to know when he will be outmatched, so he bows out of the fight. All the money goes to Dalton. However, one angry gambler can't accept the loss though. He tries to pull a knife on Dalton, demanding money. But Dalton, he doesn't flinch. Standing his ground like a true badass, does what he does best. He sends the would-be attacker running scared.
Y'all gonna take your knife?
While Dalton's tending to his wounds, enter Frankie, a woman who recognizes Dalton. She runs a bar called Roadhouse, which has become a hotspot for troublemakers, and her bouncers just can't handle the pressure anymore. She needs someone tough to clean up the mess, and she's willing to pay big bucks.
I can pay you good money, $5K a week, just for a month, and I can put you up.
Dalton suggests she talk to Carter.
I'm all booked up.
But Frankie's persistent. She slips him her number, leaving the offer hanging. Later, we find Dalton dozing off in his car at a gas station, lost in thought about his life. He's feeling hopeless. No home, no money, ready to give up entirely. In a dark moment, he parks his car on the train tracks, contemplating ending it all. But at the last second, he hesitates, trying to start the car. Too late. The train slams into his vehicle, jolting him back to reality and making him reconsider Frankie's job offer. Now he's driving to the Florida Keys, rolling into town. He's greeted by Charlie, a vibrant kid who co-owns Glass Key Bookstore with her father. She extends a friendly hand, offering him a book that details the city's highlights. Charlie's kindness and encouragement lift Dalton's spirits, providing him with a sense of belonging in his new surroundings. Dalton arrives at Frankie's bar, the Roadhouse, and immediately notices something special. He meets Laura, the bartender, and orders a drink. Billy's excited to see him, claiming he knows who Dalton is.
I know who you are. Big fan, man.
Dalton's vibing with the cozy atmosphere of the place and compliments Laura's energy.
Nice place you got here. Peaceful.
But as night falls, everything changes. The Roadhouse transforms from a peaceful spot to total chaos, with people breaking into fights everywhere. The band members join the brawl, and Billy tries desperately to maintain order. Dalton, cool as ice, he stays out of it. Then Del and his motorcycle gang crash the party, sending customers running. When Billy fails to restore order, Dalton finally steps up to take charge. He taps Del's shoulder, suggests they chat outside. But Del, he's not budging, shaking his head with stubborn determination. Dalton walks confidently toward their bikes, with Del and his crew scramble after him, anxious to prevent any damage to their rides. Dalton gives them multiple chances to walk away gracefully, but when Del remains stubborn, Dalton's patience snaps. In a lightning-fast moment, he decimates the entire group, leaving them stunned and injured.
Oh, come on, it's not that bad.
God, I don't think I can ride like this, fuck.
True to his character, he immediately helps Del and his friends, arranging for Frankie's car to take them to the hospital. At the medical facility, a doctor named Ellie confronts him. She's not impressed with these antics and threatens to call the cops. Dalton just laughs, pointing out that law enforcement rarely cares about their community.
Only I don't think they really care about rage-filled dickheads around these parts.
As she tends to his wounds, her attitude softens and they discuss his fighting history. Dalton dismisses the whole idea of winning fights.
No one ever wins a fight.
Outside, three suspicious figures can be seen watching him from the shadows. Back at the Roadhouse, Frankie pays Dalton for a week's work and offers him her old boathouse to stay in. That night, Dalton has a rough dream about his final UFC fight as a challenger. Just as things get intense, Laura wakes him up with breakfast. She hints that Roadhouse has gone through many bouncers, but she hopes things will be different with him around. Later, Dalton heads to Charlie's bookstore to use their computer. Even here, people are already talking about his motorcycle gang showdown. Suddenly, nearby shops get in trouble with some bikers. Charlie grabs a baseball bat, ready to fight. The bikers mock her until Dalton steps out. Immediately, they back off. Dalton starts settling in, making friends, feeling more comfortable in town. Meanwhile, on his boat, motorcycle gang leader Brandt is shaving, angry that his guys can't get anything right.
Can someone just tell me or remind me whose idea was it to hire these dumb fucks in the first place?
He hired these bikers to scare off local businesses, but Dalton's presence is making that difficult. Back at the roadhouse, another fight breaks out, this time over music.
This ain't fucking high school garage, man. Get off the fucking stage.
Dalton sees a perfect opportunity to teach Billy some new skills. Billy follows Dalton's instructions, successfully stopping the fight. When round 2 starts, Dalton steps in to help before letting Billy handle the rest. Over the next few days, Dalton trains Billy, who learns quickly. Dalton also notices scars on one worker's knuckles, Reef, who turns out to be a boxer. Dalton decides to pair Billy with Reef as partners to help control the roadhouse, allowing himself to take it easier. While helping a drunk safely out of the bar, Dalton spots a group of bikers outside, who glare menacingly, promising to return. That night, Dalton's haunted by more nightmares from his UFC career. Back then, he wasn't afraid to throw punches or call anyone out. Now, he's much more cautious. The next morning, he runs into Ellie at the roadhouse. He can't help but wonder why everyone here is so confrontational.
Loyalties, family ties run deep. If you cause trouble to the wrong people, you could get hurt, or worse.
Dalton and Ellie's relationship starts turning flirtatious, moving beyond friendship. After another week's work, Dalton collects his pay and heads to the boathouse. On his way, he senses a car closing in. It suddenly speeds towards him, nearly causing a crash, but Dalton dodges just in time. But the car doesn't stop. It reverses, sending both Dalton and a truck off the bridge. Dalton manages to survive, but when he returns to the boathouse, Del, the bike gang leader, is waiting with a gun. Dalton moves fast. He flips the table, breaks Del's knee, and throws him into the water. Dalton tries to handle things calmly, and sure enough, a large alligator appears. The next morning, police search for Del's body, but locals casually mention how gators like to hide their food, so they're out of luck. At the bookstore, Charlie shows Dalton a map of the roadhouse, and something feels off to him. As he leaves, a man threatens Dalton, insisting he get in the car to meet his boss, Brandt.
You did see that I have a fucking gun, right? Okay, so get in the fucking car.
Dalton stays characteristically cool, warning the man. The guy tries to act tough, but Dalton's faster. After ensuring the finger isn't seriously damaged, Dalton responds casually.
Tell your boss if he wants to talk to me, I work at the Roadhouse and I'm there every night.
Back at the Roadhouse, Dalton asks Frankie why Del and his gang are so interested in this place. She shrugs it off as a territorial dispute.
I mean, some of these guys, they get real territorial. Who knows why these assholes do what they do?
Meanwhile, the man with the broken finger returns to Brandt, admitting he failed to bring Dalton. Brandt's frustration grows as his grand plans crumble, all because of one lean bouncer. Just as he's about to explode, Brandt receives a prison call from his father. Instead of answering, Brandt throws the phone out the window, making the guy with the broken finger retrieve it. Meanwhile, Knox receives a call from Brandt's father after a wild night out. He wants Knox to step in and clean up all the mess Brandt has created. Knox is ready to dive in immediately, and in a romantic twist, Ellie surprises Dalton with a boat trip to her favorite spot. Where he mentions his troubles with Brandt, Ellie reveals that the Brandt family is loaded, owning a huge chunk of local land. When she starts probing into Dalton's personal life, he gets uncomfortable. He warns her she doesn't want to know about his past.
You're a nice person. You don't want to know me.
But Ellie already knows and doesn't mind. Finally, Dalton opens up and they share a more intimate moment. Meanwhile, Knox finally rolls into town, parking his Ferrari with flair and knocking over some motorcycles at Brandt's place. He complains about not having enough sandwiches for him in the gang, apparently being quite the big eater. When Brandt returns, Knox slaps him, explaining his father sent him to clean up Brandt's mess and handle the bouncer situation.
Once Knox is on the job, it's over, baby.
Despite the slap, Brandt convinces Knox to give him one more chance to handle Dalton. Later, when Ellie drops Dalton off, cops are waiting to question him about the Del incident. At the station, the sheriff warns Dalton to leave town or face serious consequences.
I'd like you to leave here, my friend.
You don't want to be my friend.
Dalton's clever comeback angers the sheriff, leading them to drag him out, beat him, and hold him at gunpoint. That's when Ellie shows up and slaps her father, the sheriff. She drives Dalton back, explaining how her father used to be friends with Brandt's father. But when Brandt's father went to prison, the sheriff started working for Brandt.
You have to leave, Glass Key.
Meanwhile, Brandt heads to the bookstore to cause trouble. When Dalton returns for his night shift at the Roadhouse, Brandt finally appears for a face-to-face talk. Brandt knows Dalton can't be scared off or bought.
Really? How much are we talking?
He even found Dalton's infamous UFC fight on YouTube, where he killed his opponent. Then Brandt unleashes Knox, and the entire bike gang storms in. Knox struts in, declaring the Roadhouse his territory now,
This roadhouse is mine.
and starts trashing the place. He even steals a woman from her date. Billy and Reef notice the chaos and try to stop Knox, but he knocks Billy out cold and easily takes down Reef. With both bouncers down, a massive bar fight erupts. Dalton just wanted to enjoy his coffee in peace, but now he's dragged into the chaos. Knox taunts Dalton, saying he came specifically for him. They face off, with Knox having the upper hand through his strength and gang backup. Knox beats Dalton badly until his crew intervenes. Finally, Knox drags Dalton outside. Dalton, all beaten up, silently gets up to leave when Ellie and the police arrive. The Roadhouse is in shambles. While Dalton's packing at the boathouse, Frankie finally reveals the truth. Brandt wants to build a luxury resort, and Frankie's the only one standing in his way. Though Dalton seems indifferent at first, Frankie admits she's scared, something he never expected from her. Meanwhile, Brandt learns Dalton's still alive while staring at his resort plans. On his way to the bus station, Dalton discovers Charlie's bookstore has been torched. Firefighters tell him Charlie and her father were rushed to the hospital. Since Charlie was the first to welcome him to town, Dalton decides he can't leave now. He heads straight to Brandt's place. He finds one of Brandt's thugs and tells him burning Charlie's bookstore was a huge mistake. Then, Dalton crushes the man's windpipe, leaving him gasping for air, before pushing him into the pool. When a biker watches Dalton loading the injured thug into a truck, he quickly spills the secret about when and where Brandt's meeting with loads of cash. Dalton tracks down a corrupt cop, knocks him out, finds a box full of enough money to last a lifetime, frames the cop for murder, then knocks him out again. Dalton transforms from a reluctant hero to a determined protector of the town. Dalton uses a payphone to call the police and tip them off. Just as he finishes planting explosives, Ellie's father shows up. He tells Dalton that Brandt has taken Ellie and will kill her if the money isn't returned. Though skeptical, Dalton agrees to bring the cash, just in case the threat is real. He manages to slip past Ellie's ex-boyfriend, a cop, by boat. Knox makes his grand entrance at Brandt's estate, only to find it empty. On Brandt's boat, the sheriff is lounging around, claiming the kidnapping is a lie until Brandt admits he really did take Ellie.
About that, I did kind of take her.
What the fuck, man?
Brandt's furious about Dalton always getting in his way. He just wants his money. Suddenly, Knox appears on the horizon, giving Dalton his chance to trigger the explosives. The explosion creates the perfect distraction for Dalton to search for Ellie. He finds her locked in a room just as the windows burst from the pressure. They escape into the water, with Dalton fighting off attackers. Ellie manages to get onto one of the boats, but Brandt's already there. He takes her hostage and heads for the Roadhouse to destroy it. Meanwhile, Knox and Dalton engage in an intense showdown. Somehow, Dalton makes it onto Brandt's boat. Just as Knox is about to strike, Dalton spins the boat, sending Knox flying. Brandt, enraged, turns the boat to ram Dalton, but he jumps aboard Brandt's vessel just in time. As Ellie and Brandt struggle, Dalton takes Brandt down. The boat flips near the Roadhouse, but Dalton and Ellie manage to escape. Brandt survives, and Dalton's determined to end this once and for all. Brandt tries to use a harpoon, but Dalton quickly knocks him out. Knox returns for a fair fight this time. Dalton fights hard, but Knox keeps landing punches. Dalton gets Knox in a headlock, but Knox manages to stab him in the stomach. Just as Knox prepares to strike again, Brandt yells for Knox to kill Dalton.
Do your fucking job!
Knox, irritated, decides to deal with Brandt first. This gives Dalton the opening he needs. He takes down Knox with a wooden pole, finally finishing him off. The sheriff arrives to tell Dalton he's done his part but needs to leave. Frankie remains hopeful, saying the Roadhouse will be fine. In the final scene, Dalton's bus arrives, and he's already gone when Charlie's father discovers the box full of money and wants to thank him.